and peace and blessings upon the best of those sent, the father of Qasim, the chosen one, the trustworthy, Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and his illustrious family and righteous companions, O most merciful of those who show mercy. I bear witness that nothing is worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he is alone and unique without plurality or association. And I further bear witness, testify, that Muhammad ibn Abdullah is the slave, servant, and messenger of Allah. And Allah the Almighty has said in the sacred pages of the Quran by way of a reminder, O ye who believe, or O ye who attest faith, O you who profess faith, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as he should be feared, and die not except in a state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. O mankind, verily we created you from a single soul, and from that soul created its mate, and from the two of them spring forth countless men and women. Have reverence for Allah. Fear Allah and reverence the wombs that bore you. Verily he to you is ever watchful. And O ye who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as he should be feared, and say a word directly to the point, directly to the bullseye, that he will improve your condition and forgive you your sins. And whoever obeys Allah and his messenger has already achieved a mighty achievement. And so kind of pressed for time today in a sense, because we don't want to run into Salatul Asr. And so we want to talk about those who trust in Allah and never lose hope. Those who trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they never lose hope. And reading from the Surah Ali Imran, the 3rd chapter of the Quran, the 159th and 160th verse, where it says, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَذَا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنَ الْحَوْلِكَ فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ وَإِنْ يَنْصُرْكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ وَإِنْ يَخْذُلْكُمْ فَمَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And it translates as, and thus it is due to mercy from Allah that you deal with them gently. And had you been rough, hard-hearted, they would have certainly have dispersed from around you. So pardon them, therefore, and ask pardon for them, and take counsel with them in the affair. So when you have decided, then place your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surely Allah loves those who trust him. And if Allah assists you, then there is none that can overcome you. And if he forsakes you, who is there then that can assist you after him? And on Allah should the believers rely, or should the believers put their trust. And verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks the absolute truth. Now the haqqul iman furuhu, or the reality of faith and its branches. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that faith has over 70 branches, or 60 in another narration. The highest is to testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. Some translations, no one is worthy of worship except Allah. And then you even hear some say, there's no God but Allah. And the lowest is to remove an obstacle from someone's path that may cause injury or harm. And in the hadith it says that modesty is also a branch of faith. In this statement, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam makes it clear that there are several branches of faith that comprehensively define true belief. So it is important for us to derive from this that some branches are fundamental pillars of belief, where faith cannot be achieved unless one believes in them completely. Additionally, some branches contain obligations that carry rewards and punishment, where one may actually leave the fold of one will actually leave the fold of Islam if he defiantly rejects any of these branches. Some of these branches are related to character, conduct, with some being obligatory and others being recommended. Some branches are related to dealings like buying and selling, giving and taking. Each of them vary in degrees and rank. However, all of these branches of faith vary in importance and collectively define the Islamic aqidah, the creed, our belief system, its character, its worship, and transactions. The scholars of Islam, particularly Ibn Hibban, rahimahullah, which Imam Hajar al-Asqalani agreed and supported in this piece called Fathul Bari, which is the commentary of Sahih Bukhari, enumerates the branches of faith broken down into sections. But for today, we are going to discuss two of these 70 branches, which are trust and hope, tawakkul and raja, respectively. Because I strongly believe that those who genuinely trust in Allah never give up hope and never despair of Allah's mercy. But in order to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to examine our faith. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us not to make the mistake of the Arabs of old, who were chastised by thinking that they had arrived in faith. And there's a piece here that I pulled off of out of Ibn Kathir's tafsir. And it talks about this ayah in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah 14. And it says, قَالَتَ الْأَحْرَابُ الْأَمْنَى قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا وَلَمَا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانِ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. The Arabs, some translations say the desert Arabs. For the sake of this khutbah, we'll say the Arabs say we believe. Allah says, say you do not believe, but say that you have submit, because وَلَمَا يَدْخُلُ الْإِيمَانِ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ, because faith has not yet entered into your heart. Say you that you do not believe, but say we have submitted, for faith has not yet entered your heart. And according to the tafsir, it says this honorable ayah provides proof that faith is a higher grade than Islam. And according to the scholars of the Arabic language, that this is also demonstrated in the hadith of Jibril, peace be upon him, when he questioned the Prophet about Islam, then Iman, then Ihsan. Thus moving the general matter to one more specific, then even more specific, Imam Ahmed recorded that Amr bin Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said something to some men, or the Messenger of Allah gave something to some men and did not give one of them. So Sa'd said, O Messenger of Allah, you gave so and so and so and so, and however you gave nothing to so and so, even though he is a believer. The Prophet said, Al Muslim, or say a Muslim. Sa'd repeated his statement thrice, and each time the Prophet ﷺ answered, he said, Al Muslim. And then he said, Inni la u'ti rijalan ada'u man huwa ahabba ilayya minhum falam utihi shay'an fakhafata an yakabu fil nar ala wujuhihim. That I might give some men and give nothing to others, even though the latter are dearer to me than the former. I do not give them things for fear that they might be thrown on their faces in the fire. This hadith recorded in the two Sahihs, therefore the Prophet made a distinction between the grade of a believer and the grade of a Muslim, indicating that Iman is a more exclusive grade than Islam. And I mentioned this subject in detail, supported by evidence, in the beginning of the explanation of the chapter on Iman in Sahih Bukhari. All praises be to Allah, and the favors are from Him. So this proves that the Bedouins, whom the ayah mentioned, were not hypocrites. Rather, they were Muslim in whose heart faith was not yet firmly established. They claimed a higher grade for themselves than the grade that they earned, and they were taught a lesson as a consequence. And this meaning agrees with the meaning given by Ibn Abbas, Ibrahim Nakha, Qatada, and preferred by Jarir, that these Bedouins were taught a significant lesson pertaining to Iman. So, for this very reason, when I translate the Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, alternatively, it's translated as O thee who profess faith, as opposed to O thee who believe, or O thee who articulate faith. Because faith is a personal matter that requires action, it requires movement, and it requires maintenance. You cannot afford to walk around the planet assuming that your faith is intact without doing some things that's going to help solidify your faith. Faith is like a seed. It needs nourishment, attention, sun, water. It needs soil in order to germinate and take root in the earth. So when you go, and this is an example, when you go to get your vehicle inspected, every year everybody has to have their vehicle inspected, and the mechanic says to you that you need a wheel alignment or you need a tune-up. He's telling you that if you don't take corrective action or corrective measures, that you're going to have some car problems, and that you're not going to pass inspection. And so it is with our Iman, our faith. You have to tune up your faith. and ask yourself, do I need a faith alignment? When you pay attention to your faith, you begin to qualify your faith and develop your faith until it becomes secure and transforms into security, where you become a believer. And one of the translations for the word mu'min is security, one who holds security or a security holder. And so it's very important, man, that when you think of the faith matter, that you not walk around the earth assuming that your faith is intact. Because just as you treat your vehicle and you want your vehicle to pass inspection, and the mechanic tells you, he said, well, you know what? I don't think you're going to pass because you need a wheel alignment. You need a tune-up, you know? And so it is with our faith. A lot of times our faith becomes so shattered. It wavers between the degrees of being high at some points and being low. And so we may not have a mechanic to go to that's going to tell us that we need to align our faith or to tune up our faith. But that's something that we should be aware of as we travel in the earth. That we have to pay attention, man, to our faith. Because it is said that some people would go to bed with faith and wake up faithless. Right? Some people will go to bed and have faith and wake up faithless. And some people will go to bed faithless and wake up with faith. So it's very important that we take example from this chastisement of the elders when they said that we believe. And Allah Ta'ala admonished them by saying, do not say that you believe, but say that you submit, for faith has not yet entirely entered into your heart. And you know your faith better than anybody. You know a lot of times when you're going in a direction that you're not supposed to be going in, and your faith is telling you one thing, but your desires are telling you another. Perhaps you need a faith alignment. Perhaps you need spark plugs, new spark plugs. You need an oil change in your faith. You need to come to the masjid and tell your family, you know, I need to take a sabbatical. I need to go to the masjid so that can reinforce my faith, because I feel my faith becoming weak. I find my faith steering me in directions where I know I'm not supposed to be going. O you who worship Allah, O you who profess faith, pay attention to your faith. Build on your faith. A lot of us know what our weaknesses are and know what our strengths are. So it's very important that we pay close attention to our faith, man. Because as faith is a personal matter between you and your Lord, it's always manifested in people's actions. You know, there's a saying that actions speak louder than words. Right? A lot of times you ain't got to say a lot. But if you watch people's actions, it tells you a lot about where their faith could possibly be, including myself. You see? When you watch people's actions and watch what they say out of their mouths, and then you watch the activities that they perform, and not being judgmental, but actions speak louder than words. You know you ain't supposed to be doing thus and such and so and so. It's manifested in your actions. A lot of times you ain't got to say a word, man. Because what's external manifests itself. What's internal manifests itself in the external world. But Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He clarifies for us who the believers are. In Surah Al-Hujurat, in the 15th ayah, He says, Bismillah, that the believers are only those who believe in Allah and His apostle, then they doubt not and struggle hard with their wealth and their lives in the way of Allah. They are the truthful ones. Right? That the believers are those who believe in Allah and His apostle, and they doubt not and struggle hard with their wealth and their lives in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the believers, the people who've transformed their articulation of faith into belief, are those who believe in Allah and don't show any signs of doubt and struggle with their goods and their persons on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'd like for all of us to attain that level of faith, man, where we can say to ourselves internally, man, that as I struggle with my faith, I ask and I pray Allah ta'ala that He blesses me to become a security holder, to become a man of belief, and not just walk around pounding your chest and thinking that you've arrived with all the shortcomings that you got. You still think that you've arrived. But the reality, man, is that people go to bed, man, with faith and wake up faithless. That people are faithless and wake up in the morning with faith. So don't pound your chest. Ask Allah Ta'ala to deliver you. And so, the word Muslim in Arabic is what we call ismul fa'il. It's a active participle in the second form. Right? The word Muslim is a active participle in the second form, and it means performing the action indicated by the verb. And in this case, the verb is submitting, right? And when you submit, submitting is faith building, or trying to submit to the will of Allah Ta'ala is faith building. Not only is it an action, but it's an action that helps you to build your faith. So Allah Ta'ala has named you and called you Muslim. And the process of you submitting to the will of Allah Ta'ala by doing those various branches of faith is sort of building you so that one day, man, Allah Ta'ala you'll be able to withstand, man, the storm. Because a lot of times, man, when the storm comes, and the storm ain't necessarily got to be rain, man. When the storms of ignorance and confusion and stuff like that hit us, man, because of the fact that we don't spend enough time in working on our faith, we always seem to succumb, man, to those negative influences. So the more your faith increases, the more you trust in Allah. And the more you hope for positive outcomes. Umar ibn al-Khattab has said in the hadith that the Messenger of Allah said, if you were to trust in Allah as you should be trusting, that He would provide for you as He provides for the birds, that they go out hungry and they return in the evening full. Hagga was left in the desert by her husband Ibrahim alayhi salam. She did not cry. She did not weep. She didn't say, oh honey, why you leaving me here? You know that ain't right. You know that you ain't supposed to be doing that. Why would you do a thing like that? But she trusted in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She was proactive. She moved straight to the business at hand, hoping for a positive outcome. And she went up the hills of Safa and Marwa, not one time, but 7 times. And when she completed the second unit, she didn't say, oh, I'm tired now, and came up with all kinds of excuses. She kept moving, trusting and hoping in Allah for a positive outcome. That she went up the hills of Safa and Marwa 7 times. And it is said, according to the Tariq al-Islam, that on the 7th time when she came back to approach Ismail, that when he kicked his heel, that's where the well of Zamzam emanated from the desert, man. Or you who profess faith. And so it is with us when we trust in Allah, when we hope in Allah for positive outcomes, that Allah Ta'ala will bring water from the desert. Allah says that As-Safa and Marwa are among the symbols of Allah Ta'ala, man. And every time I think of this story of Hagar, man, I say SubhanAllah. Because till this day, man, the well of Zamzam is still flowing, man, in the desert. After all those years, man. Miracle of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Based upon, man, Allah Ta'ala testing someone and them exemplifying their trust, man, and their reliance, and their hope in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And so it is with Ibrahim alayhi salam when he was thrown into the fire. And he trusted and he hoped in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and Allah Ta'ala made the fire cool for Ibrahim. And when the Muslims was in the Battle of Badr, and they were outnumbered by the kuffar, and Allah Ta'ala sent them help, and they became victorious. So it's very important, man, As light as a matter as we may think that it is, that we work, man, that we operate on our faith, man, that we work on the development of our faith. And we work, and as long as we work on the development of our faith, Allah will bless us to trust in Him and hope for positive outcomes, man. But you have to pay attention to your Iman. Iman has over 70 different branches. There's so many different ways that you can submit to Allah in ibadah. So many different ways, so many different forms of ibadah that'll bring you and strengthen your trust and your hope in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. There's a story here, very unique story. It was during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there lived a trader who, in all affairs, always placed his trust in Allah. And the trader used to travel from Syria to Medina for trade. And during one of his trips, he was confronted by a bandit who drew his sword and intended to kill him. Said, "If it is my wealth that you desire, come and take and leave me alone," pleaded the trader. "Killing you is a must, for if I let you free, you will definitely identify me to the authorities," said the bandit. "In that case, give me respite till I take and offer 2 rak'ah prayer," requested the trader. The bandit agreed that the trader engaged himself in prayers, and having completed the prayer, he raised his hands and beseeched, "O Lord, I have heard from your noble messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that whoever places his trust in you shall remain protected. And I have no helper in this desert, and your grace is my only hope." And having placed his trust in Allah, the trader had hardly completed his supplication when a rider on a white horse loomed in the distance. And when he came close, the rider confronted the bandit and killed him with one stroke of his sword. And then turning to the trader, he said, "O ye who places your trust in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, I have killed the enemy of Allah, and He has delivered you from him. Who are you that you have come to my assistance in the desert?" The trader asked. "I am your trust. Allah brought me out in the form of an angel, and I was in the heavens when Jibril called out to me and said, 'Hasten to the assistance of your master and exterminate his enemy.' And I here have come and eliminated your enemy." Having said thus, he disappeared out of sight. So There's another story that says that the preacher was once giving a sermon in a large audience in the mosque. And in the course of it, he said, "Oh people, I tell you the truth, that if only you knew the power of the sentence, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, you would say it before every action of yours, and whoever says these words before beginning any act will be or see wonders. One will even be able to walk on the water." So the poor villager who was sitting close to the pulpit, he listened to this sermon attentively, and the poor villager was a regular visitor to the mosque, although his journey from his home was a very difficult one because he had to cross a large river on the way. The poor villager did not have a boat and often had to wait until someone appeared who could transport him across. The route around the river was extremely long, and however, when the poor villager heard the sermon, he realized that he had found the solution to his problem. And when the poor villager reached the river on his way back, he did not hesitate but recited Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and stepped onto the water, and by the grace of Allah he was able to walk on the water and soon reached the other side. And this became a regular practice for the poor villager until he thanked the preacher who had given him the solution to his problem. The poor villager decided to invite him to his house for a meal as a way of showing gratitude. And then the end of the story is that the preacher accepted the invitation, and both of them began walking back to the poor villager's house. And on reaching the river, the poor villager recited Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in his normal routine now, and the poor villager expected the preacher to do the same. But when he looked behind him, he found that the preacher was still standing at the brink of the water. And the man told him to recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, just as he had preached from the pulpit. And the preacher said, "My dear villager, I lack faith. Trust that you have," replied the preacher. So the moral of the story is teaching and acting on the words taught with trust is not the same. And although someone could be standing on the pulpit admonishing people to do thus and such and so, and people constantly admonish you to do thus and such and so, a lot of times, man, it may be somebody right in the audience, or some of the students that you've taught over the years, man, that have excelled you in your faith, man. Had not only excelled you in faith, but excelled you in trust in the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقولي قولي هذا واستغفر الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. You know, we are in a unique position in the world of prophetic outcomes. Some things that are coming to fruition as we speak. The plan of the shaitan and the shayateen has always been to neutralize you and to incapacitate you mentally, physically, and spiritually. To render you faithless and to render you hopeless, disabled, a casualty in the war of repression. In fact, you were never supposed to make it this far. But Allah Ta'ala, as he says in Surah Al-Fil, وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ, but he caused their device to go astray. J. Edgar Hoover, who was the director of the FBI during the movement of COINTELPRO, he said, "You would never see another black messiah unless we create them ourselves." Right? Well, Mr. Hoover, Be careful what you say. There's a movement brewing in this country that is colorless, multi-religious, that was given birth to by oppression, genocide, repression, and destruction of people of color. And yes, Uncle Sam created it. And people are banding together on the injustices that have played out in the world stage. So there's a huge light bulb that's turned on. And they thought that the Messiah was going to be one man, but Allah is manifesting it as a movement of men and women, a movement of people standing together against injustice as it rears its ugly head, and joining the right and forbidding the wrong. And in Islam, in closing, the Messiah in Islam was sent to the Israelites, and that he will return to the earth at the end of time along with the Mahdi, and defeat the Dajjal, the false Messiah or the Antichrist, and restore peace and justice. So we are in a unique position, a time of prophetic outcomes. Allah says, Allah says that you may dislike a thing that's good for you, right? Allah also says that do you think that you will be left alone on saying that you believe and that you won't be tested? And so, Allah Ta'ala reminds us, there's in Surah Ahzab, in Surah 33, ayat 58, and I'm going to close on this note. You got to pray. Allah Ta'ala says, surely those who speak evil things of Allah and his apostle, Allah has cursed them in this world and the hereafter, and he has prepared for them a chastisement bringing disgrace. And those who speak evil things of the believing men and the believing woman without their having earned it, they are guilty indeed of a false accusation and a manifest sin. So, we're in the time of prophetic outcomes. Allah says, Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar, fasali li rabbika wanhar, inna shaniyaka huwa al-abtar. Right? Verily we have granted you the fountain of abundance. So turn to your Lord in prayer and sacrifice, for he who hateth you will be cut off from all future hope. Man. So people don't know what they're playing with, I think. People don't realize, man, that, and sometimes we don't even realize what we got. And the ammunition that Allah Ta'ala has blessed us with in this book, man, Al-Quran, man. Right? For those who annoy Allah and his messenger, Allah says he cursed them. And then turns around and said those who annoy the believing men and the believing women, man. You see? And those who hate you for no reason other than saying La ilaha illallah, that they the ones that's going to be abtar. They the ones that's going to be cut off, not you, man. So trust, man. Increase your faith and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man, and hope for positive outcomes, man. Because positive outcomes await you, man, but you got to go at it. Being patient, man, don't mean to just sit still. It means to get busy, to do some things. Because, we've been in worse situations, man. I go around and I listen to people, man. But it's a movement brewing, bro. If you look around, if you travel, man, among the religious community, I've never seen before, man. Among the Yahoo, among the Nasar, So, ربنا اتيني في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا افرج علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة